All right, welcome everyone to our third Ask Me Anything. I'm your host, Alan Sakyan of Simulation, where we interview leaders at the edge of their field, scientists, artists, entrepreneurs, educators, you name it, we interview them. And we are doing this AMA because we are very excited to play some tennis with our audience. Tennis meaning the ability to hit back and forth ideas, questions, and answers, and aim to stimulate each other, and hopefully aim to augment each other's worldviews towards a more peaceful and harmonious and scientifically driven place. So let's take a look at how many of us have joined in already and are asking questions. I will be monitoring the streams. All right, let's take a look here. All right, Luke Robert Mason, what's up, brother? Thanks for tuning in. Would love to hear a question from you. And on YouTube as well. Let's take a look. And we are live across both platforms, YouTube and Facebook. All right, and we got some viewers across both platforms. And we're waiting for the questions, so let's say, ask Alan anything, exclamation point. Let's invite some people to watch on Facebook. Maybe we'll get some questions. Good to see so many familiar friends here. All right, let's see what homies say. In the meanwhile, tell people tune in and ask some questions. I will speak about a couple things that have been on the mind, especially seed theory has been on my mind. That's kind of what I'm calling it most recently. The idea that every single one of the beautiful seeds that are born into our world, humans that are born into our world, that we need the basic nutrients, air, water, food, shelter, love, compassion, electricity, internet, healthcare. We need that in order for us to thrive, in order for us to be able to flourish, for a tree to flourish, and for us to have the fruits to provide for our families, to provide for our civilization, to provide for our communities. All right, people that are watching, ask questions. I see you guys are watching, waiting for your questions, peeps. Yeah, last time on AMA2, we had quite a bit of fun back and forth. Hope to have that again. And also, with that seed theory, there's a lot to unpack there. It has a lot to do with maximizing our own potential and empathy towards other people and towards what they went through. And it's important for us to gain that sort of insight because it is really what drives a more cohesive planet. Like, if you want to update the code of the world that we live in, well, then have a great deal of drive towards unleashing yourself fully and helping get behind the eyes of other people that may not be unleashing themselves fully. Why? Who got head starts? Well, how did they get head starts? How can we potentially help make sure that other people can gain the same access to the basic needs? Samo, what's up? Samo Buria, what's up? Thanks for joining. Go ahead and ask a question if you'd like. And I see there's 3 on YouTube watching. Drop a question. Love to hear from you, everyone. We're monitoring the live stream. Monitoring the live stream for questions. So drop them. Yeah, sometimes I even come in and just type a letter and then plug a couple more people in. Sometimes I do this on the streams. It's kind of interesting because people get to see who's on the friends list. It's awesome. These are people you should follow for sure. Smarty pants people. One thing about, interestingly enough, unscheduled AMAs are also interesting because people weren't prepared to drop in and ask questions versus if you do schedule them, are people potentially more prepared with questions? Likely the answer is yes, but then people have to maybe dedicate time slot to that specifically, and that may not be as potentially helpful as if it's just going live and then someone can tune in and ask a question. There's been a lot happening for simulation. We just hit episode number 400, which is very exciting. And it's taken us a good amount of hustle to get there. It's fun. Luke Robert Mason, drop a question, brother. I see you just joined again. Good to see you, my man. Pumped to feature you on the show soon. Also on the YouTubes, still got some viewers. Drop a question, peeps. It's definitely been interesting growing a show. Of course, first question from Luke Robert Mason. What's the plan for an East Coast simulation? East Coast of the United States of America. Yes, sir. That is definitely the plan. It's been a little bit difficult deciding if to just potentially skedaddle from the Bay Area for a year and just go interview all the smart people possible in Cambridge and New York and DC and stuff. And we want to do that as soon as possible. But we also understand that Silicon Valley and San Francisco are extremely important. Rumors of Boston is the next comment from Luke Robert Mason. Yes, that's true. It's true. Yep, the rumors of Boston are true. That we just came back from 2 weeks of interviews in Boston. Interviewed 30 plus really smart people. Those episodes will be uploaded in the next couple of weeks. And yeah, Cambridge is very interesting, Luke. Cambridge acts as a filter for some of the smartest people in the world. Harvard and MIT, and then Tufts is there too. Boston University's there. Berklee College of Music's there. So it's like Northeastern's there. There's so many smart. The biotech hub there is crazy. Also just like Yale and Princeton and all these other smart Dartmouth, all these other smart Ivy Leagues are out there. So it's a very good idea for us to get out to the East Coast as soon as possible. And shout out to Alex K. Chen. AKC is a big influence of mine trying to, push us out there because there's a lot of smart people out there that he's constantly pushing us towards. But yeah, the West Coast is also great. You got San Francisco and Los Angeles. We're close to LA too, and LA's another good hub. But it'll be good to be able to have people in New York also jet up to Cambridge. And Luke, I think you're still spending most of your time in New York now, if that's right. So we'll be able to see you more often. Joey, thanks for tuning in. Joey Chronic, drop us a question during the AMA if you'd like. Be good to hear from you. Yo, those watching on YouTube as well, drop a question. Still don't hear anything from the YouTube audience. Facebook, excited to hear from you. Joey, drop a question. Good to see you. Definitely give these Luke's comments a like. Yeah, the East Coast will be good. We'll be able to start talking to the prominent nodes out there more often, and interviewing them will be a lot of fun. How do you book your guests? You get some incredible folk. What's the secret? Do you reach out to hundreds of folk a day? Luke, great question, and I love the folk. Folk. That's so great. Yeah, how to book the guests. That's great. The video that we just put on our channel called Vertical Networking at Hot 50 is a pretty good resource for that. Basically just identifying with people that are of decent amount of influence on the trajectory of our world, and just wanting to reach out to them and having kind of like a little formula of like, hey, here's 2 sentences. It's a subject to show invitation, and 2 sentences is, hey, Luke, love your work. Would love to feature you on our show. Let me know if you're interested. Send over a date. That's it. And, hyperlinked, of course, to our website and stuff. So this way you kind of just get into a flow of constantly reaching out. Maybe you do 10 a day, maybe you do 20 a day. All of a sudden you're getting 1 or 2 replies a day of people that want to meet with you. And I think this is really important no matter what industry it is, and no matter if you have a media company or not, but it's still very important to be pursuing in the media space, especially as we enter into the attention economy. That's a great question, Luke. And it used to be that, when your boy came out to like Boston, or it would be like probably close to maybe like a couple dozen emails a day on the way out to Boston, or a couple dozen emails a day on the way out to LA or New York or wherever, because you want to be able to interview those prominent people. So you're, especially as time gets closer to the time that you depart and go there, that you want to be able to reach out and nail those guests for the time that you're in town. So that's a great question. And Luke also hosts Virtual Futures, which I highly recommend checking out. We can give a shout out. Yeah, shout out to Luke Robert Mason. Hugely recommend virtualfutures.co.uk. Check him out. Check out these talks. These talks are excellent. Highly recommend them. The salons are super good. And, here's one of the ones with Douglas Rushkoff recently that he did. So check that out. Anything on YouTube yet? Not on YouTube. Ask some questions, viewers on YouTube. Yeah, it's interesting thinking about it from the perspective of how long that it takes to get the decent amount of people that are tuning in and viewing when you do it live without a scheduled time versus doing it with a scheduled time, because that's maybe something that we explore doing in the future, is doing the scheduled AMA. Because obviously 14 minutes in, I want to be of value to you guys, That's the thing about unscheduled AMAs, is that I want to make sure that I'm of value. And that, these pieces of content need to be valuable. Let's get back to the YouTube. Comment your questions. All right, another question from Luke Robert Mason. Preston Curley, what's up, brother? Drop a question, Preston. Would love to hear from you, my man. Luke Robert Mason's most recent question. How do you find time to research folk? Do you use a default set of questions as fallback? Takes me over a week to read their latest book and do background reading too. You manage to do almost 1 a day sometimes. Incredible. Thank you, my man. Thank you. And it's a great question. I would say that with applying whatever is the Pareto principle to the people that we're talking to are really important, as in just really trying to find the 20% of information about them that's going to give you 80% of the knowledge about who they are and what they stand for, because sometimes it doesn't take a week to get that information. So, I mean, I'm really, as long as someone who's like interviewing me is to like, oh, like you have a show called Simulation and you featured 400 plus people and you do it, it's multidisciplinary, you feature different leaders, I'd be like, yeah, that's pretty damn good. That's probably like whatever, a vast majority of what I am, what I represent and whatnot. So, so that's some food for thought. I know how you feel though. Like you want to read their whole book, you want to read their whole Wikipedia and all of the links and all the articles and all of the interviews, video interviews that they've done and all that kind of stuff. But really, what are their core thesis points? And actually, another point, Luke, that may be helpful is that coming up with the questions. One of the most important things as an interlocutor is just to know how to. When we ask, and I'm still in kindergarten, but I'm learning as best as I can right now, is that asking pressing questions that are open-ended, that get them to think. Like we like starting shows by asking what people's thoughts are on the direction of our world. Then people get a nice little view into their worldview. Then asking people about their journey, like tell us about your journey, how you got here, right? Boom, that's the end of the question, and then you just shut up and let them talk. And then if they say, oh, I got interested in art or science or blah, blah from whatever thing, then we ask a follow-up like, oh, that's so cool. So tell us about that mentor that introduced you to neuroscience that got you interested in it. And then they unpack it more. But then when you get into the heavier stuff, like if they're in if they're in clean meat, or if they're in let's check YouTube quick. Okay, nothing on the YouTubes. Yo, homies on YouTube, give us a comment. I see you guys watching. So if they're in like clean meat or whatever industry they're in, ask the questions that get you into the depth. Like, okay, how does clean meat work? Teach us about that cell replication that needs to happen, and how to actually get it to the bioreactors and get it to feeding billions of people as soon as possible, right? What are the challenges that are holding back clean meat right now? What would it be like? What would it be like for our for the massive agriculture and factory farming that we do with animals, and how much of are we? What would it do to the pollution effects on the planet? What would it do to our spirituality to not be slaughtering these animals? And so it's kind of like, digging into the most pressing themes on the subject of clean meat, or whatever the subject is we're discussing with the leader that we're sitting down with. So that's typically where I head. And then I do really like having a set of questions at the end. I like asking people what the most beautiful thing in the world is. I think that's an interesting question to ask people. I think if you really want to press a bit, I like asking people if they think that there is a global ruling elite. I think that's an interesting question to ask. Another interesting one is if they think we're alone in the cosmos, if they think we're in a simulation, what they believe to be true that almost nobody else believes to be true. Questions like that are very cool. And so having kind of like a set of questions at the end that you think are pretty good. Also, Luke, something else that could be really beneficial to you is having a testimonial at the end. So having them spend like just 30 seconds of explaining why people should watch Virtual Futures, and also giving you their recommendations, 3 or 4 referrals to other prominent speakers that you should feature on Virtual Futures. So I hope that that's a pretty decent blurb. So I really try and apply the Pareto to people's backgrounds so I can get the key points. And I also like to co-create with them quite a bit. So when they arrive, I show them what I have, and then I ask for them to co-create with me what they want to talk about, because I don't want to talk about things they don't want to talk about. And I also want them to tell me what they want to talk about, just in case if I've missed things as well. So we definitely co-create part of the outline together as well. And there have been some, pictures on the interwebs of me doing the outlines on the whiteboard. I used to do them on the whiteboard, and then I realized how much, YouTubers, drop us some questions. In the live chat, YouTubers. in terms of Luke, in terms of where I used to take notes, I used to take a lot of notes on the whiteboard, and then I realized how just whiteboard is a medium that is just, it's slow, it's further away from me. I can't, edit it as easily, and it's not, obviously not digitally saved afterwards. So what I decided to do is just put the notes on my laptop. I think that's a great idea. Just have like both their bio, the show episode name, the links in the bio, as well as the couple points that you've put into this co-created outline, and then just have that in front of you on the computer, and you're not referencing it every single time you need to make a point, but occasionally you reference it. And it's also nice to have the visuals up there on the computer. So if you want to reference the visuals in the conversation, you can do so quite easily, and just reference the visual if they're talking about the autonomous car and all of the sensors on the car and how it processes the data. Then maybe you want to actually bring up that asset of the autonomous vehicle and all of the sensors on it so that people can gain a better understanding visually of what they're talking about as well. Got some shy guys on YouTube's. Peeps watching but not dropping cues. Another one of the things that is actually like quite interesting about all of this is that I feel like most people go into what they pursue doing not knowing about what they are getting themselves into. Like, I definitely didn't know what I was getting myself into. People like to say like, oh yeah, I totally knew. I knew this whole time that I was what I was getting myself into. People rarely know. Like, when people start the massive companies of the world, they rarely think that they were gonna end up doing that. And so it's very funny, just as you're slowly growing something, you also realize how much time that you have to spend doing it. Like, I spent so much time on this project, right? You were just talking about that a little bit ago, Luke. So it can sometimes be, Joey, hit us up with the question. Joey Chronic, see you in there. Yo, YouTubers, drop a question. I see you guys watching. Drop a question. Yeah, it's like just so much time that we spend. We spend a lot of time on building what we're working on into the world, and we spend less time on doing all of the social things that so many other people are doing. I think that's one of the most interesting parts of entrepreneurship is the sacrifice. The sacrifice that people make in order to pursue entrepreneurship. Just invited Luke back again. It's funny. I always wondered what actually happens when you hit on their names, like how when they get the notification and what it says and stuff. Oh, it's such a beautiful place. Mother Earth is such a beautiful place. Oh, as I wait for these next couple questions, I will sing a song and hope that everyone gets along. Let's try love. Let's try peace. Let's try bliss. Let's get there together, one person at a time, holding hand in hand. We can do it if we try. We can. There is science and art There is awe and wonder, we can do it together. Find the mix in between. Get inspired and inspire others to build. Because what better way is there to be than in peace and harmony? Da 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 da. Peace and harmony. Da 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 da. Yo, drop us some questions on that YouTubes. We see all you folk watching on that YouTubes. AMA Ask Me Anything on YouTube, on Facebook. People, drop the questions. Yeah, I do just want to make sure this is great value for people, and like it does seem like it's probably better to schedule these because it's like almost half an hour in and I've basically had one conversation. Griffin, what's up, brother? Thanks for tuning into the Facebook live stream. Would love to hear a question from you. It's an AMA Ask Me Anything. So drop a question. Any question, my man. Hope you've been well. Can be about anything at all, It can be about time, it can be about space, it can be about the human brain, or it can be about the human race. It can be about all of the species on the planet or the species on Titan, because soon we'll know once we send astronauts out there. Do 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 do. All the emojis is so funny. Yo, Robert, I see you sending emojis on Facebook. Drop a question, my man. Would love to hear from you. Drop some questions in the AMA. Same thing on the YouTubes. Peeps be watching, but there's need those questions. This is an AMA. Need the questions. Bum 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 bum. That's the heartbeat. Bum 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 bum. Cosmo, what's up, brother? Good to see you. Thanks for tuning into the AMA. Cosmo, would love to hear a question from you. Also, stay strong, my brother. I love you very, very much. Stay strong. Stay healthy. Stay smart. Keep doing you. We need you. I love you. Hey, Cosmo. I see your comment. Talking to you, my man. Talking to you. Soon, I'll be able to loop people in via like Skype or via Messenger directly into the conversation. Oh yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. That's yeah, it's exactly what's happening right now. That's so funny. Do me a favor and ask Alan a question. Ask him to ask Alan to ask Alan. I just love infinite recursive you. There's so many of us. Let's see if I can point to them. Wait, that's the wrong way. This way. Who is this guy? Who is this guy? That's funny. That's funny. The infinite recursion. Ask Alan to ask Alan to ask Alan. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. All right, YouTubes, you got a question for me? Oh, YouTubes, yo. What's up, YouTubes? I didn't know that people were commenting. What's up, guys? Thanks for tuning in. All right, how did simulation TV start? Also, what's your educational background, if that's relevant? All right, Dirty Kicks, what's up on YouTube? Thanks for tuning in, Dirty Kicks. All right, so let's hit that up real quick. So the question from Dirty Kicks is, how did simulation TV start? Well, simulation started with a fascination for insatiable curiosity. And it also started with questions, lots and lots of questions, the most thought-provoking questions. We're trying to really ask leaders around us questions about the ethical evolution of our civilization, how we can maximize our potential, how we were going to handle ourselves in the exponential technology age, how we were going to handle each other geopolitically, what we were going to do about genetic engineering and neuroprosthetics and artificial general intelligence. So it started with the questions, with the deepest emotions we've ever felt, if we think we're in a simulation, if we think that we're alone in the cosmos. And so what happens outside of the 3D reality that we live in? So it came from the fascination with the questions. And that's a good question. Thanks for kicking us off with that. And then, of course, it was just inviting them to come onto the show and to answer the questions that we had for them and talk about their journeys and inspire and engage other people to build the future. What's your educational background, if that's relevant? Okay, educational background. Mostly science communication, mostly entrepreneurship are the two big ones. Other major influences on me were debate when I was younger. Another major influence was soccer. So your teamwork, a lot of teamwork was a big one. Also, a lot of just... like my mother, love and compassion from my mom was a big one, huge one. And very grateful for my uncle as well and all he's done for raising me. And Ron Vargas, who usually sits here, who's the producer director of the show. All right, let's get to the other questions. Good questions. And just one more last point on the educational background is that number one thing is insatiable curiosity, man. If you got the insatiable curiosity, if you have the energy to ask a lot of questions, you're going to go far. But just you got to keep doing that. Okay, how come they don't make any funny movies from Lee M, like Something About Mary anymore? Also from Lee M, if you were going to commit suicide due to automation, how would you do it? Oh, man, what a question. I don't know about the movie, the funny movies. They make some funny movies, don't they? Really, it's time for knowledge. It's time for, movies to have really strong bits of knowledge in them for people to become more enlightened with, because so much of Hollywood is just in so much of Silicon Valley as well. Lots of parts of our world are just filled with noise. That's a funny question. If you were going to commit suicide due to automation, how would you do it? I don't know. There's like so many interesting options. I don't know, going to like the Mariana Trench in a submarine and then like shooting myself out of the submarine and then having the water pressure just crush the body, or like jumping out of an airplane without a parachute, or doing some kind of a demonstration about like peace and unity before death, like I don't know, like laying in the middle of Market Street in San Francisco and just like laying there in the middle of Market Street with like a bunch of signs that say like peace and love and unity and respect and like change the world, update civilization's code, get away from the greed and the corruption that's corrupting our souls. And then like, go away that way. It's an interesting question. Very dark question. It's interesting stuff. I'm not fearless. I'll answer your questions for sure. Hopefully can keep updating code for a while though before that. Okay, let's check back to the Facebooks. Okay, some more questions. Can't post a screenshot, but I'm glad you noticed now. That's funny. Yeah, of course I noticed, Cosmo. What's up? Michael Lynn. What's up, Michael? Thanks for tuning in. Would love to hear from you. Genesis, what's up? Would love to hear from you. Joseph, would love to hear from you. Joey Khalil, what's up, man? Good to see you. Will getting into flame wars with Republicans ever be automated? That's a tough one. Flame wars with Republicans ever be automated? Well, hopefully we can find that peace and unity and love and respect rather than that war. Let's get there. That's super important. Some more questions from the YouTube. Message was retracted before I could read it. Morton Fizzback, why'd you retract your message? Ask questions with an S. Felix, what's up? Good to see you, my man. Felix, drop us a question. It's been a while. Love to hear from you. AMA, ask me anything. The recursive Sakyans. Hey, Felix. Thanks for the comment. Good to see you, my man. Let me know if you have any questions. It's an AMA. You can ask me anything. Thanks, Cosmo. 100 P. We gotta love the shirts comment. 100%. Gotta stick out. Gotta represent what we believe in with the clothing that we wear. Question from Felix. Who's going to win, Uber or Tesla? It's a good question. It's a great question. Good question, Felix. All right, who's going to win, Uber or Tesla? Well, Uber could win if they put in a shitload of their time and resources into figuring out how to win on the autonomous front. But Tesla apparently has the most miles driven and the greatest slurping of data from the roads. Uber has a lot of interesting data, though, about people's behaviors in terms of when they ride, how often they ride, all that stuff. It'll be interesting to see them both put into competition and see what happens. Next question from Felix. When will we finally get fusion energy? And Cosmo's reply was when Tesla invents it. That's funny. I agree, though. Fusion energy is massively important. You can see right there the question and the reply. Fusion energy is critical. We need that as soon as possible. And there is a bunch of people working on it. And this isn't just the ITER over in Europe that's doing it, but now it's even smaller and smaller nuclear fusion reactors, and potentially our ability to get out more energy than we put in and just do that over and over again. I mean, that's game over as soon as we can get there. Just look at the sun for inspiration. It's such a beautiful fusion reactor that's providing all life in the solar system. Okay, some more questions. How difficult is it to get guests? I would like to host my own podcast with comedy and interesting guests. From Dirty Kicks. Yo, Dirty Kicks, good question. How difficult is it to get guests? It's if you watch the episode that we just did on vertical networking and Hot 50, it's a very short 8-minute episode. We actually break down how to maximize speed and efficiency with identifying people that you want to feature on the show and then just booking them and providing them with value and going through that process, very short messages. Highly recommend checking that out. Another comment from Dirty Kicks. Even though your channel isn't huge yet, you have very interesting guests. Thank you. Do you think AI will slow down? No, I don't think AI will slow down. What are some rarely spoken areas in computer science that are important that we don't commonly hear about? Oh, that's a good question. And you saw, Dirty Kicks saw the vertical networking show was good. Glad you saw that, Dirty Kicks. Also, Dirty Kicks, one more thought for you quick before I answer your next question. Dirty Kicks, start that podcast up, my man. Really get it going. This is the time right now. Get it while it's good. The attention economy is still in its process of flourishing, so you can you got to pump out lots of content, get that content library built, that content catalog built, but go and get it done. And it's hard to do because it, requires you to wake up every morning and build instead of wake up every morning and just go to Netflix or just go to get a beer with a friend. But no, you got to stay home and work and build your projects and stuff. But it brings more meaning to life for those that are willing to explore it and have good conversations that build important things into our world. Bring in Ty Lopez or James Marshall. Yeah, I don't know who James Marshall is. I know who Ty Lopez is. James Marshall. Who is that? Oh, this is someone that's passed. It might be another one. James Marshall, actor. Known for playing the character James Hurley. Okay, cool. If that's him. Yeah, I'm very down with guest recommendations. So if anyone's connected, just shoot an email, simulationseries@gmail.com. Make the introduction. We'll happily take over. And just Dirty Kicks, to answer your quick previous question about what are some rarely spoken areas in computer science that are important that we don't commonly hear about. You know what's very interesting about that question is that your boy actually needs to learn that subject a lot better. I need to learn more about computer science and about the subject areas in that field that are doing really interesting things. One of the things that we're probably most familiar with now is neural networks and their process of being able to do things like identify images. Oh, what is this? This is a dog. Oh, what is this? This is a car. And that's very interesting in the process by how neural networks actually make those identifying decisions. But then there's a lot of other complicated things, like if you were to try and make anything that's not a narrow intelligence like playing chess or playing Go or playing StarCraft. Even StarCraft's getting more complicated, but still a narrow intelligence because it's not like Alpha Star can't go and get you a glass of orange juice from the fridge. So, the advancements, generative adversarial networks are kind of interesting. They're also a little bit scary because I feel like deep fakes have a lot of potential for causing a lot of mayhem on the planet. And so that would be another question or another area that is kind of crazy that is important to dive into. Also, other areas in computer science are just new programming languages. I mean, everyone talks about Python. I think that's very interesting. I think JavaScript, also just knowing how to put together and break apart computers, know how to write lines of code, know how to make code modular, make new code. It'll be interesting to see artificial intelligence writing code, a super intelligence writing code, and what a coding language looks like that it makes. These are good questions from Dirty Kicks. Thanks for giving us the questions. I'll give you a thanks. Thanks, Dirty Kicks. Good questions. Boom. All right, back to Dekai and Joshua Fields. What's up, guys? Would love to hear questions from you. If you guys are interested, we'd love to hear questions from you. All right, I'm about to wrap this up in a bit. We got some questions. Yeah, thanks, Dirty Kicks. Much appreciated. GWT123 asks, solar activity or CO2, which one has the greater impact to climate change? Interesting. Solar activity or CO2. Okay, as in maybe that means CO2 emissions and their effect on climate change, or solar activity, as in not like solar energy that we do, but solar activity. Oh, like from the sun. Yeah. Like all of the solar flares and stuff like that. There's a lot. Here's what's interesting. Here's one thing that I will say that's very contrarian, and anyone can clip this out as they please. But I think anyone that's running around just screaming about the consensus on just in general about global warming and whatnot, I think what's more important to do than screaming about the consensus, because that's not getting to anyone's heart, soul, emotion, intellect, energy at all, is to actually break down the variables, tell a good story and break down the variables. Be like, okay, we know very little about solar flares. They do this type of stuff to the planet. The Earth orbits a star this amount of time. It's this close, this far away. Jupiter and Saturn, their relationship on the Earth and how it gets dragged out or or closer to the star. I mean, there's so many things that actually go into the process of the Earth being heated by the star that we're just so ignorant of. So it's so funny when one little brain inside of one of these vehicles runs around and says, oh my God, this, or oh my God, that. Like, yeah, it's true. Like some parts per million of CO2 increase in our atmosphere, some of our ocean acidification is happening, right? These are very important things to identify, but we can potentially do things like genetically engineer phytoplankton in the oceans to sequester more CO2. But we also need to transition to nuclear fusion. We need to transition to solar energy. We need to transition to other forms of energy as well as quickly as possible because we need a sustainable civilization for a long period of time. So that's a great question. Thanks for that question, GWT123. All right, I'm going to wrap this Q&A. It's been 45 minutes. Good job, everyone. Really appreciate you tuning in. Huge shout out to our audience on YouTubes. Huge shout out to our audience on the Facebooks. Thank you very much for tuning in, everyone. Greatly appreciate it. Much love to you both platforms. And that's it, everyone. Thanks for tuning into this AMA. It's good to have done the third one. We'll keep doing AMAs as we go over time. Just going to take a quick sip of tea. Good stuff. So, we'll figure out if we want to schedule these or if we want to keep them on the fly. But come with questions. As always, come with questions. And go ask your friends and your coworkers and social media and your families. Ask questions. Ask people things. Have that insatiable curiosity. Go and build the future, everyone. Manifest your dreams into the world. And that's it. Thanks for tuning into this AMA. And we will see you soon. Peace.